Once again, we have with us Professor M Vidyasagar from National Science Chair at IIT Hyderabad and Fellow of the Royal Society joining in on the show. Professor Vidyasagar, great to have you on the show. Morning firstly. Help us understand, because some studies seem to be revealing that India's R count caseload is already at 1 again. What is it that you're gauging from the situation on ground?
What is that 1 again? I didn't catch it. I'm sorry.
No, according to some studies, they are indicating that India's R count now, that's... Mr. Vidyasagar, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. What is the question?
Okay. No, just wanted to understand, because some studies seem to be indicating that India's R count has now hit 1 again, and that 8 states have shown a very high caseload of COVID cases once again. Kerala, Northeast, Delhi, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand are showing +1 R count right now. R count, of course, indicating the higher infection spread. What is it that you're hearing from what the status is on ground right now? Is it too soon to say that this is the beginning of the much dreaded third wave?
Well, let me first begin by saying that in places like Maharashtra and Kerala, they haven't seen the end of the second wave. So it's too early to talk about the start of the third wave. They first need to get the second wave behind them. The Northeast, as you have correctly pointed out, the number of cases is low by absolute numbers, but in relation to their population, it's fairly high. States like Uttarakhand and so on, they're showing a slight uptick in cases, but from an extremely low base. So there is no reason to get alarmed about that. So if you really want to talk about getting the pandemic under control, what needs to happen is that the state of Kerala needs to figure out what its strategy is going to be in order to make sure that the cases don't keep rising. The state of Maharashtra needs to figure out what it wants to do so that its cases also don't rise. And then some of the northeastern states that are showing high percentage loads like Manipur, Mizoram, and so on, they have to ramp up the testing to make sure that they get as many of the infected people as possible detected and isolated and into hospitals. So those are the places of concern to me right now.
Indeed. Professor Vidyasagar, one worries as to where is it this leading to? Because, like you're rightly saying, that some of the states in the country are still at the, in the midst of a second wave, and the second wave itself hasn't subsided. Do the state governments need to be a little bit more stringent about their unlocking policy then, or need to go perhaps into a total lockdown?
Okay, let me say first of all that you're being a little bit disingenuous by saying some states. It's actually 2 states, Maharashtra and Kerala. If you remove these 2 states from the Indian total, the number of cases yesterday was 14,000. And it has been under 20,000 for quite a long time now. So I would say that excluding Maharashtra and Kerala, second wave is over, okay? That doesn't mean these other states need to can afford to relax. They also need to be careful, but the ones that really need to focus on their strategy going forward are Kerala, first of all, because it's accounting for nearly half the cases, and Maharashtra. Okay, so in terms of those 2 states, specifically Kerala and Maharashtra, I would like to direct your viewers to the Twitter thread of Professor Manindra Agarwal, who is a member of our Sutra Consortium. He has given a very detailed analysis of why both in Maharashtra and in Kerala, the cases are stubbornly refusing to go down. And in fact, in the case of Kerala, they're actually going up. So in terms of what should be the remedy, total lockdown, we don't believe in that at all, because the time for total lockdown is long, long past. What one needs to do is to make sure that crowd gatherings do not take place. That means that any activity where large number of people congregate should be restricted, if not forbidden altogether. But in terms of not allowing shops to function, not allowing people to go about their daily livelihood and daily activities, that is actually not going to be very beneficial. And in fact, Kerala, I think, has had some form of a lockdown for more than a year now. Maharashtra has been under a lockdown for about 4 months now, and clearly neither has helped the situation. That's my answer.
Okay. Professor Vidyasagar, I wanted to understand that even in the previous round of that surge in infections, it was Maharashtra and Kerala which were largely, responsible for taking India's overall caseload higher. So, do you, see that? How fast do you see it spread from beyond these states? Because like you said, a strict lockdown is now out of the question. And secondly, how well do vaccinations help in keeping a lid on this R number?
Right. So in terms of the second wave, it was more Maharashtra than Kerala that caused it, because the so-called Delta variant, which was highly infectious and spread all over India and caused our second wave to have a very high caseload, that actually started in the state of Maharashtra and then spread to nearby states like Chhattisgarh, to some extent Karnataka, but also to Kerala, and then eventually it reached all parts of India, Uttar Pradesh, Bengal, you name it. So that is now worked its way through the system. This is why in the country as a whole, we have a seropositivity rate of close to 70%. That means that 70% of the population in the country as a whole has some antibodies, which will give them some protection against reinfection for the next several months. And part of the reason to worry in Kerala is that its seropositivity rate is under 50%, which means whereas in the rest of the country, only about 30% of the people are vulnerable to reinfection. In Kerala, this number is over 50%. Now, answering your question about the vaccination, what vaccinations will do is to compensate for the fact that the people who now have antibodies from having been exposed to the pandemic earlier will see a slow erosion in that immunity. So if the rate of vaccination can stay ahead of this rate at which the natural antibody protection is eroding, then we should not see a massive third wave. Okay. In fact, I would say we should see only a very mild bump. The present rate of vaccination, around 4 million doses per day, which is what we're administering now, it's sort of just enough. Ideally, we should crank it up to 5 or even 6 million doses per day. But even at 4 million doses per day, which is what we achieved in July, that should potentially stave off any third wave.
Okay, Professor Vidyasagar, let's hope that people then go out there and get themselves vaccinated very quickly to avoid a resurgence in cases. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.